What is up?
What's up?
Busy man.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, I'm at least glad you're like getting out and like climbing hills with Anand.
Yeah. So, like, what I've realized is with so many things going on in my life, if I
Hmm.
don't take care of my like physical and mental health, like it'll just go spiraling downward, right? So, just
Hmm.
putting in that effort and going there and doing that, it has a huge impact on my energy levels, my positivity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Yeah, I feel like in some cases that's like good to keep it ongoing. But like I don't know, like sometimes it's just like it's that whole like uh, came in with the wrecking ball kind of situation. Like life just like gets to you. Like, anyways, that's been my couple of weeks. Just it doesn't like on some level all the routine and everything helped, and then all of a sudden it
Mm-hmm.
didn't. If you know what I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
and felt like I'm back starting all over again. I feel exactly like the week after I realized I was like fully burnt out. It's the same feeling all over again, and like I was trying to kind of pick myself up and move along, and that's the thing. Like you got to keep up. I hate using this phrase, but the illusion of productivity, even when you're down. So yeah, it's insane.
But who do you have to keep up that illusion with?
For myself. That's the worst thing, right? Like it's it's not like I have some boss that I need to report to and make them happy. It's worse when you don't have a boss and you're your boss, because when you're bullshitting, and uh, when it's just a bad day and you can't do anything, right? Like you just got to deal with things, and of course, like uh, if your customers, like I do, they don't care what's going on with you, and they might be friendly and slightly empathetic about your situation, but eventually they'll be like, just काम खत्म कर दो, right? And like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean,
It's a
it's not
tough
even like,
position to be in, right?
yeah, it's not even an illusion of productivity at that point, right? Like, because you've promised to deliver great shit to somebody and take their money, so doesn't matter if you have anxiety, ADHD, depression, you have to deliver great shit, because it's not just about that client, it's about the next client, right? Like, because this guy is going to go and give feedback about you to everybody else, and the best thing they can do is not say anything. The worst thing they can do is go and bitch about you, and yeah.
Hmm. No, but what I was just saying earlier is that it's what you do is an incredibly hard thing, and like hats off to you. I don't know how you do it, um, but help me understand this, right? So, because you're your own boss,
Mhm.
like the conversation with yourself should be way more easier, right? You should be able to kind of immediately acknowledge that there is a problem, right?
Mhm.
And you should be able to kind of um try to move in a direction which solves the problem, right? Like in my case, like because I have people that I report to,
Mhm.
I have to communicate that that I'm not at my best state, things are not going the way I planned it to be, all of these things, right? Like I have to have the conversation with someone else, so it becomes harder. But like I'm
Mhm.
assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that because you're having that internal dialogue, it should have been like really, really fast for you, right?
No, it's I think the answer is a bit layered, right? Like it depends. If I have a if I feel like there's a security net in terms of whatever, have I met my goals this month, and then I can, like, it doesn't affect me too much that I'm taking some time off, uh, is one part of it. The fiscal is always something that's weighing down upon you. And man, like, with the stuff that my friends have been going through, and, like, like the cost of healthcare, all of that looming over my head. I mean, I'm glad, and touch wood and all of that, that I don't have any immediate expenses in terms of health, but just foreseeing it is something that looms over me, and I'm like constantly trying to put more money away, because what about the months where the enquiries just don't work out? What about the months where it's not like, yeah, where conversion is just not possible, right? Like, it's a different kind of survival. It's like taking those enquiries up might just be counterproductive, even if it means short-term money, because yeah, there's that whole thing. Then the other thing is, with you and your boss, you have boundaries, right? Like, there's a lot he doesn't know about your life. And when you go up to him and say, I'm not at my productive best today, can I just get the day off? He's not going to probe. He's not going to, like, ask you questions. But with you answering to yourself, it's not like that you're calling out your own bullshit, but it's just like, when you want to tell yourself, look, I'm having a personally difficult day and I don't think I'm going to be professionally productive, is when you stop having the professional conversation with yourself and you're delving down into that personal territory, which is where the spiral started in the first place, right? Like, so it's not, it's really difficult to create that boundary and be like, okay, today I'm feeling shit because of some personal things and I don't want to get into that, like, can we just call it a day off? But it feels like, oh, you're having a shit day personally and you're going to fuck up your day further professionally. So it compounds in your head, right? Like, it's exponentially more difficult to deal with and grasp with having taking that day off. And what's worse in certain situations, like, I really wanted to do nothing on Saturday, and on Thursday, I get a call from a client who's frantic, who forgot to tell me something that they could have for an entire month, and they made it a last minute thing. So I ended up sitting Thursday, Friday, all night long, just cracking through and delivering this. And on Friday, when I sent it across, they didn't respond on time. So Saturday morning, they called me and be like, "Hey, can you just, like, tweak these two, three things?" And it's just not possible to say no at that time, right? Like, so I lost all of Saturday, which I had planned to be a beach day with Nidhi, Shashi, and their friend. I just lost the entire day because it started at 11, 10:30, whatever, then them calling with one change and then going back and forth. It was like 5 o'clock, and for them, they were like, oh, I'm at work. But for me, it's like, it was unreasonable. I had to cancel the entire day and recover from that day, today, Sunday, when I had, like, a whole other things planned. And yeah, so it gets like, there's no boundary per se, and like, it's so easy for people to say, oh, just draw a boundary, separate your work and life, and, like, like, work life balance. But as an entrepreneur and as a single person entrepreneur, it's really blurry. I also think, to a large extent, people who have partners, romantic partners, they for them it's slightly easier, because and it's been with me when I've been in really good relationships, that, as my partner has pointed out and said, today you're doing this, where you're, like, mixing your two lives up, and you're feeling worse about yourself for being, or quote unquote failure is what you think. Take stock, look at what you've achieved so far. It's okay to take the day off. It's okay to take the break. You really need an external voice to say that, because when your internal voice says that to you, you can't buy it. You just can't buy it.
Hmm. So I just have two questions. Um, One, it sounds like the people that you are working with in some cases are last minute by nature.
Yeah, this was
Uh,
very. I used to have that kind of clients, but like it's every client once in a while. It's forgivable. It's fine.
okay. And second, like it's sounding to me like your commitments are like very aggressive. There's not enough buffer. Is that a fair
Oh
understanding?
no, not at all, not at all. It's not. It's when something's last minute, it's just last minute. And as somebody who is, I define my broad mission as I want to help founders slash organizations. Not so much on the organization front, more so on the founder front. So when a founder is actually asking for help, and sometimes they goof up, it's okay. I've been in those shoes. I understand it. I'm here to help, so it's not an overextension. And the one thing I really appreciate about most founders that I work with is they're so considerate about your time. They understand because I see a lot of people in big corporations being unempathetic towards my time and my weekends, whereas founders always check 4 times, 5 times before giving me a call on Saturday or Sunday, because they're like, I don't want to, I know what that feels like, because getting a call from a client on Sunday is something a founder really understands, because you cannot say no in a lot of cases. So founders are super
Hmm.
empathetic about that I really appreciate, and that's one of the reasons I want to work with founders. And like that seems like the space that I'm headed to. I think I'm going to open up a lot of mentorship type situation as well for founders, because I realize this, whatever, I'm 35 now, and for somebody who's 19, 20, I have a lot of experience to share. So certain opportunities there are actually organically opening up, so I'm thinking of exploring that side and just seeing how that goes.
Yeah, but coming back to your earlier conversation, right?
Hmm?
If you're okay taking on something last minute,
Hmm?
and if you're okay with not having buffers,
Hmm?
then what is the problem, right? Like, where are you starting to become unhappy? Is it basically you don't get to do the things that you want to do?
No, no, no. No, it's got nothing to do with that, right? Like the two things are, in a lot of sense, not correlated. Um, and that's the thing with what I was trying to get a grip on with my understanding of the depression that I am going through, is that it's got really nothing to do with the events occurring in my life. It is um, simply a feeling that I start the day with. And uh, some days are, I wake up and I'm hyperactive. I have a lot of energy. I wake up like a bright, chirpy person. And there are some days when no happy juices, right? Like, and I don't know. It sometimes I just sit with it. I just deal with being. I won't even call it unhappy, because like even at those moments, I realize the things that I have, the things that I'm grateful for. I take stock of all those things. I'm very aware of these things, but it's just a feeling, right? Like it's like, um, I don't know, the closest, the most practical, most relatable thing anecdote I can provide is like diabetes, right? Like, your body's not doing the right things, so you need some sort of
Hmm.
supplements to counter it. And yeah, but some days are just like, no matter how well you've managed your diet and you've been exercising and all of that, one of those days your body is going to not do the things it's supposed to do, and you probably have to take more meds. Of course, I am also like we were talking about it last week. I'm on the fence about meds. For some, I've seen the direct impact meds have had on a lot of people who've been able to. I mean, again, the right diagnosis and the right dosage really matters. And for those who have gotten it, it's life changing in some cases. For a lot of people, it takes a worse toll on them than what their affliction was as well. So I'm wary about these things, and I'm like really measuring it out. I feel like as far as I go, I'm trying my best to stay organic and to find coping methods and solutions which are just behavioral changes or lifestyle changes in some sense. Um, and yeah, so it's just some things I got. And what do you want to do? You're like I had a great year or so, and then like I have like 4 5 bad days which feel like the whole year was shit. I just have to like uh, accept those 3 4 days and just sit with it, be with it, and it's okay. I know that it's going to pass, and I'm going to have much better days ahead. Um, sometimes it's just bad days a bad day, you know.
Hmm. I think you're a very balanced view. There's really nothing for me to add. So yeah, just sit with it, man. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, what I've realized a lot of times is depression can be. It feels worse when you feel lonely, and one of the things that I grew up being lonely, right? Like I was the only child. I didn't really get along with kids in my neighborhood too much. I mean, like whatever. I spent a lot of my time going home from after school and just spending watching Discovery Channel and cartoons instead of going out and playing. So I'm used to being so alone all the time that now when depression happens, I end up being in that same zone, and that really causes me to further spiral. Which is one of the things I've learned is to just reach out to friends and tell them I'm going through this, even if it seems like some sort of attention-seeking behavior. I'm okay with that. My friends, I mean, in an extreme case, is what my head goes there, right? Like, these are what you call the intrusive thoughts, right? Like it's, I know that my friends don't think that, but like I think that, and it feels like imposing burdens on other people and all of those things. But then I've beaten that, right? Like I've beaten those thoughts in my head, and I'm just like, it's okay. Look weak, look vulnerable. Go tell your friends you're feeling like shit, and at best they'll give you something to do. At worst, they'll make some corny jokes in some point of the conversation, and just knowing that you guys are there is like is it helps. It's not gonna like
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
magically wand wave the depression away, but it at least feels like, oh, okay, I'm not depressed alone. There's other 3 4 other depressed guys who are on this group with me, and
I wouldn't go so far as to say depressed, but yeah.
yeah, I know.
No, but I love how self-aware you are.
Mm,
So really, nothing to kind of add in this conversation. I'm just like
mm.
very happy to see where you are at.
Yeah. No, I'm also like learning to acknowledge a lot of things, right? Like you canceling on calls after setting this whole thing up feels like abandonment sometimes. I know I'm saying
Oh,
it
I'm really
too
sorry,
very.
man.
No. Hang on. Let me finish. I don't want you to feel bad about it. I know
No,
it's
no, I
not a
don't feel
you.
bad. I know
No,
what I went through.
no, it's a function that I am coming to terms with, that I do feel these things, and usually I just keep it to myself. But I'm like, you know what, let me tell my friend, like, right, like, so that it's and all I want from you is to like kind of tell me on Friday it's not happening. That's it, right? Like if that happens, I'm golden. I'm like, cool, yeah, okay, Haji cancelled is better than Haji didn't show up.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
But I think no, at my end, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think in some ways I have the same problem as you, in the
Hmm.
sense that you know um, I've said yes to so many things, and I'm so hopeful that I do a great job everywhere,
Hmm.
and then you suddenly start being delusional with yourself, right? Like
Yeah,
you're like, ha, ye to ho jayega, right? Like even right now, my brain was telling me that you're exhausted, you're tired, you woke up at 3 a.m. Just make an excuse and go to bed. But
yeah,
then the other part of my brain is like, hey, no, you made a commitment, like show up, right? Like don't worry about, are you ready, are you in the best
yeah,
state or situation, just show up, right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I find myself
No,
seesawing between these two.
I totally understand, and I don't blame you at all for any of this. It's completely fine, and I think if you had cancelled today, it's wouldn't have changed the world in any which way. But coming to the matter on this, and I said I had an idea that I wanted to run by you. I was so excited. It was like I had this idea on Friday morning, and I really wanted to like just text you the whole damn thing. And then I was like, no, I'm just like, it's just one more day. Let me hold on, and it's it's like Sunday, so before this thing turns into acidity or heartburn or something, I want to get it out. And
Go for it.
so. Uh, from our conversations right from the start about what we want to do, what I figured is we want to make a game. We want to explore other worlds in some sense because we've talked about space, we've talked about virtual reality and augmented reality. There's some multidimensional play thing going on here. And we both discussed our love for positive games. And what I mean by that broad umbrella statement is we like building games strategically, strategic build game builders, world builder kind of games a lot more than we like slightly negative leaning games, which I would classify under run around killing people category. And not that there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like the hippie in me is like triggered. I'm happy to play Battlefield and like experience World War II for myself, but I don't think I want to build something that encourages the use of guns and killing people and things like that. But
Got it.
in opportune moments, like in City Skylines has this whole earthquake mode, and like you get to like shoot meteors at your own city and stuff. That's fun. Like it's a cool thing, but that's not the fundamental objective of the game. So that's what I mean by a positive gameplay versus a negative gameplay, and not really in a emotional positive or in negative sense. It's just the intent that you kind of bring out. So what I figured is game, VR, AR, space, Autowala, um, and yeah. So I was like, why not just put all of it together in one thing? So it's a VR, AR game about building colony in space, and you start
Oh
as an Autowala.
wow. That is so trippy, dude. I love where your brain went.
Yeah, and like what I was thinking is like VR AR, right? Like I want when I'm playing it, I want the whole universe floating above my bed while I'm playing it. For
Right.
example, or like I want it to
Yeah.
be interactive with my space where I have planets and colonies that I'm taking care of, and yeah, I don't know where it starts, but like I felt like the Autovala is an integral character, but like
Yeah.
it's all of the things because I and here's where the thought actually came from, right? Like I was like, we can't go to Mars right now, but we want to build some solution for Mars. What if we build those solutions virtually first, is where
Yeah,
this
yeah,
whole
absolutely,
thought
absolutely.
kind of started.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Like you took the idea and you ran with it, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, and I was like, yeah, so it gives us the opportunity to explore the digital VR AR world and like all the innovation that's going to come up over there. I'm sure there's going to be, I think the first line of apps that Apple and Facebook are going to want to encourage people to buy a lot of headsets, which is going to be upcoming area that they're going to focus all their CACs on,
Mhm.
is gaming, right? Like is to get people to experience things and build things and play massively multiplayer virtual role playing games. And so yeah, so that whole thing is covered. But then, if we add in this whole like let's build space age civilization as the thematics of the gameplay, then it helps us understand what problems occur in those environments. And the beauty of it all is we can simulate the whole thing using software. So
Absolutely, I
it
love
like
it.
checks
You know,
all the
while you were
boxes.
talking, yeah, absolutely. While you were talking, I was kind of visualizing it in my head, and this distinct visual came into my mind. Right, like you remember how Age of Empires used to have this campaign mode,
Hmm?
right? And
Yeah, yeah.
when you start a campaign, you basically you land on a map where there's a fog of war, and your
Hmm?
character just enters like one uh, illuminated space,
Hmm?
and then it's like waiting there for you to start navigating, right?
Correct,
Like
correct.
I just literally visualized like Martian surface, fog of war, and then an auto just lands there.
Just
And I was like, wow, like it just
yeah, I love it. I love it. I love the
so
idea.
yeah. So this is fantastic, right? But while you were talking, I also kind of realized that hey, there's a competency issue here, right? Like
Hmm.
your vision is so beautiful and awesome, but
Hmm.
on the other end of it, I don't have the capability to even build something like this right now, right?
No, no, that's
So
the whole
so
point, right?
what
Like what I was thinking is we don't need to build. It's not possible, right? Like we're not between the two of us. We won't be able to build this open world civilization. It's not going to be possible. Let's be realistic about it, right? Like, but what we can do
yeah,
is
absolutely.
start the building blocks of it,
Hmm.
right? Like even if it is, we break the game down into its bits and bobs, right? Like it's like we need a map, we need this, we need that, and and we kind of strip the core idea down to its most basic thing that just the two of us can build, right? Like, and we start there. And the reason I say this is because what I've figured is if you're building something like this and we've taken half a step forward, right? Like in terms of, hey, point your phone at your table and you will see an auto wala floating around a planet, right? Like even if it is that simple as an experience, it's enough to get other people excited enough to be a part of it, right? Because this is a big vision idea. It's one of those things that, like, because as soon as I said it to you, you were excited about it, right? Like, and I think that
Oh,
that's
absolutely. Yeah.
that's the key to any building. And I was watching this really cool interview with Sam Altman, and he says it's actually easier to get people excited about building something so visionary and fantastical versus getting people to hey, let's start a creative agency together. Nobody wants to build a creative agency because there's thousands of them. Everybody wants to try and attempt and even fail at building a VR civilization game because it sounds fucking cool and you can brag about it at house parties and at Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just to track back to our earlier conversation, like when you were talking, a lot of happy juices were flowing in my brain. Like it was like, oh my goodness, this sounds so amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I also
Yeah,
think Happy Juice Game Studio should be the entity we should register.
yeah. Let's call it that. Happy juice. I love it.
Happy Juice Games, right? Like I can see the logo already. It's
Yeah.
this test tube with this like green, blue, purple liquid in it.
Oh God, that's going to come across really wrong. We will make it to one of those
What?
Instagram reels of like bad brand design.
No, you won't.
Oh
Shut up.
God. No, but PK. So no, so
Yeah.
I really kind of appreciate where we're at, but
Hmm?
even the most watered down thing that you kind of mentioned, right, was still too advanced,
Hmm?
right? I'm talking about a MVP which looks like a Nintendo, game, right? One of those handheld, Nintendo games, right? Like Pokemon, for example,
Yeah,
or
because you're
Snake on a Nokia
thinking
phone, right? Like I'm
gameplay.
talking that level of.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. I think there's potential for us to, in some sense, explore both, right? Because I see where you're coming from, and you're like, you need to get the game mechanics right, you need to get the gameplay right, and all of that's like in some sense you could call it tech debt, right? Like that's what the term would be. That we need to be able to build all of this, and I think just building out a map and having interactivity with it would be like the fundamental part of it. While you're kind of doing that, I can muck around in Unity and with VR AR and figure what is potentially possible there, and we can like marry the two worlds at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, true. I agree.
I get where you're coming from, and I'm like, you're not alone in this whole like adventure, right? Like, cause I am totally willing to jump in and like pick up whatever I can in terms of AR VR, because while the gameplay and mechanics and the what do you say, the multiplayer features, all of that is just back end technology, and it's not going to be visually seen by most people, and a lot of people are not going to understand what the hell is going on back there. The demo needs to have this element of AR VR, which we can sort of hack it, right? Like we don't really need to. We basically we have to sell a vision, uh, and then say, here's step one. This is what we're starting with, and we're gonna get like whatever, like the core people who really believe in it to like start playing it and testing it, and then 3 4 years down, we'll actually have a AR VR game ready with it. Is what I'm sort of projecting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. Hmm.
Yeah. Also, we could start talking to game developers if you want a head start.
Uh, I want to do that. I want to do that in parallel. But what I really want
Hmm?
to do is try to get a visual of
Hmm?
what it would look in its MVP and what it would look in its final avatar. Is that something that you
Hmm.
can do without any tech?
Yeah, yeah, totally possible, right? Like basically, see, what I would say is, let's
Like,
sit
can you prompt
together.
Midjourney to generate an image of what it will look like for MVP and what it will look like in its final state?
I can try, but like you know what I foresee a problem. There is no such visual
Hmm.
data for Midjourney to pull from, right? Like there's no AR game screenshots available for Midjourney to show what it will look like. But we can try. I mean, I could definitely try. I actually had Midjourney open. And
Hmm.
what is it? AR or VR? VR, AR game, uh, screenshot, AR city, Mars city builder game screenshot in
Wow. If it
kitchen.
generates something, it'll be like mind blowing.
No, my bet it doesn't understand what to do. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
It's doing something. I don't know what it's doing.
AR Mars City Builder game screenshot in a kitchen. Why did you
Yeah, I'm
throw a kitchen
assuming.
in there?
I don't know, man. We can remove the kitchen. We just have this much.
Oh wow, it generated something.
AR city builder game. Yeah, it's just a kitchen with AR in Mars.
How did it figure out this aesthetic for Mars?
How did it figure out the aesthetic for Mars? I don't know. I'm guessing it just like pulled from all the sci-fi movies there are. Yeah, see, figure that it's just taking screenshots of city builder games, game art. If you do AR city builder Mars colony city builder game. Do. Yeah, it's not like that cool. But what we can do is we can do a lot of photoshopping, sort of come to this. Um, the visual that I really like is the auto wala flying onto Mars, right? Like I think I really like that idea, visually speaking. I think there's something we should explore there. What I was saying was Midjourney gave some nice ideas of what a Mars-based city builder would look like. By the way, City
Hmm.
Skyline does have a Mars map. Um,
Awesome.
so yeah, so what I can do though is like take that and kind of Photoshop it onto real photos of my kitchen and like hallway and things like that, and kind of showcase what I imagine the game to be like.
Like, can you give in images as input to Midjourney?
Yeah, and it'll describe it for you.
No, no. In the sense, like, can you give it a certain aesthetic and then give it prompted to generate based on that?
You could just write what aesthetic you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did the most fundamental prompting to see if it generates something. There's this whole process of prompting called like additive prompting where you start with four words and then you start adding and like sort of layer the prompt to a point where it generates the exact kind of image you want. The more specific, the more precise you are with the words that you use, the better the results get. So if you say uh, kitchen with wooden table, brown wooden table, Mars game on the table, and you get more specific on what things are there and so on and so forth, it will generate exactly that. But if you're as vague as AR game city builder, it'll like go search Google for whatever is there, pull the first four images, and like kind of churn something that kind of looks similar to that. I mean, not in that order. Obviously, it does its own thing, and that's not the way the technology works.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Understood. So I was just thinking.
Hmm.
So two strands of thought in my mind. Right. One, I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of go back to the whole conversation we had about the intern. Like, have you been able to make any progress on that front?
Debilitating depression. I haven't done anything. The last thing I wanted to
Right,
do
right.
was like talk to anybody and be like, you have a potential future with us. It's not like
No, I
eh,
understand. I
not
understand completely.
not something I was like I was that one thing I realized I should not do is try and hire somebody when I'm going through this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I
Yeah,
fully agree with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
The second strand of thought was around this, right. So
Hmm.
maybe in a better internet environment,
Hmm.
you and me could actually just workshop prompting and kind of trying to come up with that visual, right, for the MVP and the final
Oh
product.
yeah,
Do
oh
you
yeah,
think
for
that's
sure.
a great idea?
I think that's one part of it, but I I like digging these thoughts out of you better right now. I want to be more textual than visual right now, because I like these ideas that you're coming up with. That you just imagine this auto just landing on Mars is so this something cinematic and obvious to that visual in the sense that it's a great start point, right? Like it's a no nonsense. Here you go, auto on Mars. Now what are you going to do? Uh, it's such a great jump into game mode. So I would
Yeah.
rather we come up with a lot more of these phrases and words or sentences, even if it's not really cohesive in some sense. Just these random abstract ideas right now, but like these are things that are really appealing to us already, right? Like, so I feel like we should have them, we should note them down, we should build a what I would foresee us doing next is building a sort of storyboard, or a mood board if you want to be a little more vague about it, and where we have all these elements and we start to visualize it the way we are
Yeah,
imagining it.
that's what
And
I'm calling a workshop, right? Like,
hmm,
um, can we kind of just spend the next session workshopping this?
yeah. So there'll be two parts to it. I would say let's pick like four or five scenes or scenarios that we're imagining this to look like. And we will start prompting and figuring out how best to do it, right? Like, and prompting is one technique. I think we should also explore our own handiwork with like drawing things and like figuring that out, even if it is like really horrible looking, right? It doesn't matter. Uh, but yeah, I think we should really explore those two things.
Yeah, I fully agree with you.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So my challenge is that I'm not able to get even your audio clearly, so it's like very broken.
Yeah, I think
So
we
like
should call this.
I'm really
We've
struggling to piece the conversation together.
tried our best, uh, but no worries. Let's just call it Haji. Like, so this kind of shitty internet can't do anything, and I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
really want to
yeah.
bother my parents and like kind of disrupt their lives today. Uh,
Right, right.
so yeah, no worries. It was just good catching up. I think you like the idea of this AR VR Mars Builder game, which was one of the key things I wanted to run by you today.
I heard a bunch of things and I didn't hear a bunch of things, but I think in general we are in agreement.
Yeah, let's build this. This is going to be a
Yeah, yeah, let's build it.
hilarious
Awesome.
podcast because I can hear the latency on your end. So I'm super
Oh
interested to
wow.
see what comes out of this. And like, anyways,
Yeah. Excited to do the workshop next. Yeah, that really will kind of get things moving.
cool beans, calling it. Thank you so much. Take care, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. Good night.